Hello, my name is Marcelo and I'm from the Crooked Paths podcast. This is a short explanation of what meditation is. One time in a meditation group that I'm a member of here in Copenhagen, Denmark, I asked a fellow member, I asked her, how has meditation helped you? And she looked at me and she said, it hasn't helped me, it's transformed me. It was so moving to hear her. It was genuine. She wasn't just saying it. And for me, my personal experience is it was transformative for me as well. It is transformative. And when I started in December 1999 in Kathmandu, I thought I knew how to meditate, but it was a misconception. It was delusional thinking, actually, to be more honest. And I had studied martial arts before that, and I had picked up books about Zen. And in the Zen books, it mentioned meditation. So I had tried it. And if anyone had asked me if I had meditated, I would have said, oh, yes, I do meditate. But it was delusional thinking, like I just said. Meditation is actually a very basic thing to do, a very basic and simple thing to do. But the human tendency, from what I've noticed from all my years of life here, especially after studying psychology in undergraduate and psychotherapy later on in graduate school, is that the human tendency is to make things more and more complicated. Even natural things, more and more complicated. So meditation at its core is just a very simple thing. It's about sitting in silence in order to go within and noticing how noisy the mind is. And then becoming non-reactive to how noisy the mind is. So in that way, the mind gets quieter and quieter when you don't get involved in its dramas, in its conflicts, in its conversations, in its endless noise. Now that may sound quite harsh for some of you who've never meditated before to think, what, my head is full of noise? No, it's the normal human condition. You're not alone. It's the same for all of us, for every single person. It's just, that's just how it is. And I remember trying to teach a gentleman that I met when I was living in Australia meditation. He asked me to show him how to do it. So I guided him a little bit with it. And he said to me, after giving it a try for a month or so, he said to me, you know, I just can't do it for more than 3 minutes. I notice that my mind just goes off and I'm wandering and I'm just fantasizing about things and I'm in a dream and a conversation. And, you know, he noticed that his attention was just going away again and again. And he took that as a negative. He took that as a letdown, that he had failed somehow. But no, to realize such a thing is a gift. It's a huge gift. I was about to say a gift in disguise. It's more than that. It's a gigantic gift, because then you start noticing the amount of mental noise that is always in your head. And initially, it's quite scary to come upon such a thing. Really scary to think of such a thing, that your head is always making so much noise, and in more stressful times, even more noise. The only time you basically get some relaxation from that is when you're in deep sleep, when we're in deep sleep. But the positive thing about the whole thing is that when you realize what's really going on, then something can be done about it. And I feel that that's where modern psychology is really lacking, because they're not aware of this simple, basic phenomena. So, therefore, what meditation is a way of developing calmness, inner calmness. It's a way of developing an inner sight that is clear, where you can go within yourself and just really take responsibility and notice what you're doing again and again. Notice any negative thinking. Notice any negativity of any type or excessiveness of any type. People think, oh, well, move over to positive thinking. Yes, positive thinking is better than negative thinking, but nonetheless, after some time, that becomes also overbearing. There's a difference between the quiet mind and the noisy mind. If you've ever spent any time around children, babies, when they're very quiet, when they're not crying, when they're just sitting there playing with their toys silently, try to sit next to them in quietness and notice what is present there. I noticed it recently with some children of my friends, and it was so profound. It was really profound. And I'm not a religious person. I didn't grow up with any religion. But what I noticed sitting there with those kids was this deep, deep silence that exists because they don't have language yet. And that comes down to the crux of the problem for us human beings. It's connected to what William Burroughs, the great writer, beatnik writer William Burroughs, wrote. He said, language is a virus from outer space. Language is a virus from outer space. When I first heard that 30 years ago, I was like, what does that mean? I thought it was his artistic flair, poetic flair. But once I started meditating and got deep into it, I understood what he was talking about. He was also a junkie, William Burroughs, and he had made a comment, off the cuff comment, that only yogis and junkies could reach enlightenment, attain enlightenment. So say what you will, think what you will about that statement, but nonetheless, the great teachers that have existed, think of a Jesus, think of a Buddha, think of a Ramana Maharshi, they said that you have to become like a child, innocent like a child. I think they meant like a quiet mind, like a child, without presumptions, being very present. And we lose that as we get older. We lose that as we get schooling. We lose that as we get language, and our minds get noisier and noisier. And you've seen what happens to kids when they start talking a lot, then they just can't stop. It goes quite a bit. There's no pause button many times, but it's no big deal. That's just how it is. So to quickly explain, when you start learning how to meditate, it really is one of the most special things you could give to yourself. One of the most important, empowering tools you can ever gain. And what it takes is honesty. It takes courage. Because you're going to go into yourself. And initially, you're going to see things that you don't like. But then when you get past that layer, like a layer of psychological fat, let's say, then you get down and you start noticing that there's a deeper you, a timeless you. And yeah, that's how it is. You start becoming aware of your most natural self. Because when you look back at your life, you've noticed that your body has changed over the years. Apparently the cells get changed completely every 7 years. So if you're 21 years old, you've gone through 3 body changes already. If you're 49 years old, you've gone through 7 changes already. Think about that. But the part of you that has not changed, the part of you that remembers being a child, the part of you that will become an old person eventually, that is timeless. That is your timeless you. That is yourself with a capital S. So meditation, it's all about going into silence. And there's all these different techniques, but really it's just about going into silence, sitting in silence, not falling into a trance and falling asleep, just being very alert, very aware, observing any thoughts that come up and being equanimous towards them, meaning not getting involved with them, staying mentally balanced with them. So, and then you start piercing through the thoughts. You start becoming inoculated against the drama of the mind, of the ego. The great teacher who I have learned so much from, he said, the mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. In modern psychology, I think there's no definition of the mind. I mean, I'm not criticizing them. They are just where they are. But there's no definition of the mind, and there's no awareness of consciousness. So get this, the word personality, it comes from the ancient Etruscan word. The Etruscans were the people who existed in Italy before the Romans. And it comes from the word personality comes from the Etruscan word persona. The word persona in their language meant a mask worn in a theater, a mask worn in a play. So they knew, they were so wise back then. Many of the ancients were so wise. That's what I've noticed. And they said the personality is just a mask. The personality is just a mask. So I know those ancient peoples in so many different traditions, in China, in India, in Greece, in wherever, in Africa, they knew so much. They were aware of a deeper level of existence. And if you looked at the shamans of their society who were revered as the explorers, the knowers of truth, the explorers of truth, the explorers of the inner journey, of the journey of existence, they all said the same thing, that this reality is not the real reality. They said this is like a dream world. I know that's quite a lot to swallow, but when you start meditating, you start realizing also that who you thought you were is not who you are. Your persona, your personality, your identity, all these things is not who we are. We are far more than that. And it's almost as if in the modern world, we've been suppressed with the education system, with the media system, with the mass media, with the mainstream media. It seems like it's been done in order to keep people at a lower level of awareness so that they would be the perfect consumers who would feel that in order to get some sense of self-satisfaction, they should buy this product or that product, that name brand or that other name brand, whatever. It's just a con job. As you can, in case you don't know, but you do know this already. So what meditation helps you do is to go beyond the persona, beyond your own mask, beyond the limitations of who you think you are. You start becoming aware in this expanded way of your connection with all of life, with other people, with other sentient beings, dogs, cats, birds, whatever you want to point at, with trees. I remember one time being in a meditation retreat, and it's a 10-day ordeal. You're there meditating for 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day. You wake up at 4 a.m. It's quite tough. So emotional things come up. These emotional things are called samskaras, by the way, in the Hindu and the Buddhist tradition. And so I was going through, it was like 4th, 5th, 6th day. I was going through a lot. And my intuition said, go hug a tree. So I didn't ignore my intuition. I just went up, found a tree that was kind of hidden because I didn't want to hug a tree in front of others. And I didn't want to be seen by it. It's kind of weird. So I hugged a tree, and it was a remarkable experience. The mental distress that I was feeling evaporated in 4 minutes. And 4 minutes is a long time when hugging a tree. You're very self-conscious when hugging a tree. But it did evaporate. And I felt much, much better. Like this funny wise man said before, when you hug a tree, you'll realize it's hugging you back. That's exactly what I noticed. And I was hugging that tree several times more on that retreat. Anyways, the benefits, there are many benefits to meditation, and people want to get into meditation because they have a lot of stress, perhaps health problems, depression, psychological situations going on. Yes, those things will improve, but you don't do meditation for that. Meditation is not for relieving stress or for sleeping better. You could just take a sleeping pill if you want to sleep better. Meditation, those things are byproducts. They're side effects of meditation. The real purpose of meditation is to go deeper into yourself, beyond the limitations of language, beyond the limitations of logical linear thinking. You will go into yourself and you get this expanded sense of existence, of awareness, and you have a much deeper sense of the mystery of this life. And the consequences of these things is that you do get over depression. You do get over stress with this, because one of the most important benefits of meditation is that you become calmer and calmer. So you become less and less reactive. So when someone comes over to you and they're stressed out and they're freaking out and their tone of their voice is higher and they're freaking out, like, hey, you got to help me. You just stay calm. You stay relaxed. You do what you need to do to resolve the situation. Okay? When bad things happen, you stay calm and it will pass, and you do what you need to do. I remember once I was in northern Thailand next to this little stream, living in a bungalow, and it was raining all night, and the stream was like 10 meters wide, and it was raining all night. I was like, wow, it's quite remarkable. I remember early in the morning, it's quite remarkable. It's been raining all night and that river just doesn't flood. 15 minutes later, to my shock, I saw things floating around on the floor of the cabana. And suddenly I realized, flood. It was flooding. It rained all night long. And fortunately, got the stuff together, took it up to higher ground, and stayed calm. And the water got up to our necks. It was pretty scary. That 10-meter wide stream turned into a 100-meter wide monster with gigantic tree trunks flowing in the center of it, and cabanas, and like 7 people died, I remembered. It happened in a place where people go to party or they go and do a lot of spiritual work and meditate. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, that you have a clearer understanding of what meditation is about. Basically, it's just simply about helping you get connected with your deeper self, to cultivate a quieter mind, to become more your natural you, to become less concerned what others think about you. I can give you great evidence about that last one, being less concerned about what others think about you. I've got this old dumb phone. I refuse to get a smartphone, and my friends laugh at me. And I know, not just friends, I notice people smiling and laughing at me when I whip out this old thing. But I've studied psychology. I know what's going on, and I know what's happening with the programming, psychological programming with the smartphones. So people laugh at me, and it's okay. If I can make a person laugh every day, that's been a good day. All right. So if you have any questions regarding meditation or anything at all, send us an email over here. And please try any of the meditations, starting off, perhaps if you're new to it, if you don't know anything about meditation, just start off with the simple, short meditation for busy people, then move over to the advanced meditation for busy people. I almost said meditation for short people. Then move over to the 20-minute meditations, then move over to the 42-minute meditations, and finally there's a 1-hour meditation on this website. Step by step, baby steps, be patient. To get into meditation is one of the most special things you could do for yourself. But it's also important to remember another important thing, that meditation is just a tool. It's just a tool to go into yourself. So whatever kind of meditation you do, stick with it and don't get too attached to it, and don't say my meditation is better than your meditation. It's not about it. It's a universal phenomenon of sitting in silence and going within yourself, going beyond language. So good luck on your journey. Oh, and one last little story. There was the Buddha 2,600 years ago. He was sitting with a bunch of his students. He was a very popular guy, as you can imagine. And he was looking at this old man, and he suddenly was wondering how old that old guy was. So he asked him, hey, how old are you? And the man said to him, I'm 5 years old. And the Buddha sort of chuckled. He's like, oh, I thought you were older than that. He thought the guy was like 65 years old or so. And the man said, no, I'm 5 years old because 5 years ago, I came to you. You taught me how to meditate, and I realized I was sleeping before. I was sleepwalking through life, and I feel like I'm much more alive now. So I count that as the day of my rebirth. So I'm 5 years old right now. So take that as you will, and try to keep meditation very simple, because the human tendency is to make things very, very complicated. Meditation is just sitting in silence, going into yourself into the silence, and observing yourself beyond the ego, beyond the thoughts, beyond the mind. And as the great French philosopher Voltaire said, one must cultivate their garden. One must cultivate his garden. So it's a wonderful way to cultivate one's garden. I feel like it's made the biggest difference in my life. Tremendous difference. And I shudder to imagine a life for me had I not learned how to meditate. And once you do learn how to meditate, one last thing, sorry, I keep saying that, but one last thing, it's important to be consistent with it. If you do it once a week here and there, once a month, once a week, it's not enough. It's just not enough. It really is something that needs to be given a chance to take roots. And once it does take root and it starts sprouting, it will be easy to do meditation on a nearly daily basis, because you'll notice the big difference between the days when you do meditate and the days when you don't meditate. The days when you do meditate, things flow easily. And if you have any difficulties on those days, your reactivity to those things are less and less with the more practice you do. And the days that you don't meditate, you'll notice that you'll be more frazzled, you'll be more susceptible to getting caught up in people's dramas, getting caught up in your own drama, your own reactivity. So there you go. I wish you the very best on your own journey for self-exploration, to go beyond what the Western model of psychology has been able to comprehend, to go into what the ancients deeply understood mattered most, and to go into what modern physics is verifying of what the ancients said, that everything is interconnected, that we are all one, that we are all much, much greater than we realize. Good luck on your journey. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye-bye.